Hello and welcome to the We All Follow podcast. My name is Matt Fox. I am your host. Happy New Year. We're back, baby. After a wonderful festive period full of amazing matches. Let's be honest, they were all low scoring and pretty boring, but we're back, and that's what's more important than anything else. Nigel, are you ready for the darts?
I am ready for the darts, which is why this needs to be a quick pod. I need to get to
We'll
watch
be
that
in
fight.
and out here. In and out like trout. Follow us on X at We All Follow Pod. Like, follow, subscribe. Like I said last time we were here before Christmas, did you send your friend the best Christmas gift of the season? This podcast. Did you do it? Did you do it? Because if you haven't, do it now. Say I'm sorry. It's belated Christmas gift. You're welcome. Nigel, we've had a lot of games to choose from. We've been gone. We've been gone for a while.
Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah,
was
yeah.
your moment of the festive period?
Uh, my moment of the festive period was probably uh, someone on X. Is it Carefree Lewis G, Chelsea fan, saying 1-0 against beating Ipswich 1-0 and you ran the ball into the corner. You never say things like that because they play Ipswich. They play Ipswich literally a few days after us. What happens? You didn't even have a chance to run the ball into the corner at 1-0 up because you were 2-0 down, lost. So my moment of the week was Carefree Lewis G getting some karma from the gods.
I'm on mute. Retribution, one might say. Beating Ipswich isn't for everyone, is what we'll say, and
No, no.
home or away. That's the nature of the Premier League these days. It's definitely the toughest competition by quite
Mm.
a long shot. Now, I think on this podcast I wear these shirts, but every time I come on here, I sound like I root for the Liverpool Football Club because what am I supposed to do other than talk about Mo Salah's performance? I mean, let's not even talk about assists, right? But he had 2 goals against Spurs. He had a goal against Leicester, and he had another goal against West Ham. I mean, what are we supposed to do? I looked it back. The year that they won the Prem last time, he had, I think it was 17 goals and 10 assists.
He's already beat it.
He's already has more than that. What are we supposed to do, bro?
Yeah. I think the difference is though he ain't got Sadio Mane across from him now this time. That's the difference.
I mean, yes, that is the difference. But the production, I mean, he could not score for the rest of the season and have had a wonderful, amazing top level. Like I looked at Hyungmin Son's best seasons ever. There are 17 goals and 10 assists.
Mm.
What are we doing here? This is like, I think we really have to like give this man his flowers because his performances have been absolutely nuclear. It's been insane. And we sit here and we're like, okay, they're gonna fall off at some point, and I hope they do. I think they'll have some level of drop off at some point, but until that point, I can't do anything but come in here and be like, this is
Mm.
unbelievably amazing and nearly historic. I mean, he's
Mm.
on pace to break the assist record as well. What?
Oh, until he gets injured.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see. Nigel's putting all kinds of hexes on Mr. Salah. This is not typically a point of this podcast, but
No.
moment of the week, we've had some good fixtures. There's been some fun ones here and there. There has been some bore fests. I think they said that the Boxing Day fixtures were the lowest scoring
Mm.
maybe in history, or at least in the Premier League era. So, I think this is the time of the year that the fixture congestion really comes into play, and you start seeing like Arsenal, for example, beating Ipswich 1-0 at home. A lot of that was off of the back of Ipswich not wanting to lose after they got blown out, right?
Mm.
And taking whatever momentum they could get. If you can have a close loss, you can parlay that into a more favorable home fixture against Chelsea, and that's exactly what they did. But you see, there's a lot of games, right? Arsenal had the most days off, I think, out of any of the teams in this period, and they still, obviously, with Saka missing, were struggling for goals. So it's going to be interesting as we head into the new year with the League Cup, with the league, with the FA Cup starting back up, all here in January. I think Arsenal have 10 games, is it? Or 10 games in
Yeah, yeah,
January, I believe, or maybe
nine
11.
games. 9 games in January.
Yeah. So, the teams that are in the top competitions, the Liverpools, the Arsenals, the Newcastle's still in four competitions. Um, and then Spurs are not in Champions League, but they are in the three domestic competitions. This is the time of the year. Spurs have been hit with a ton of injuries. Arsenal, some big injuries. Liverpool and Chelsea, not so much. Newcastle and Liverpool, um, not so much. But it's going to be interesting as we get through this next few weeks to see who's still standing. That brings us to the table. We have Liverpool on 45 points, Arsenal 39, and then you have Forest and Chelsea rounding out the top four for the time being. Newcastle, 4 wins in a row, moving up into fifth place. Man City, who were able to get a result in their last fixture, are trying to hold steady in sixth, but Bournemouth are on their tail in seventh with 30 points. That kind of next section of the pack is really tight with Fulham, Aston Villa, Brighton rounding out the top 10. All in could be on 30 points at the end of this weekend. Second half of the table, we have Spurs, Brentford, West Ham, Man United, who are on a 3-loss streak. It's been uncomfortable up there for those boys, for the Reds, tricky Reds. And then you have Palace, Everton, and Wolves above the drop zone. Ipswich on 15 points, Leicester on 14, and Southampton surely to go down on 6 points at the halfway point. So, did you want to talk about any of the matches from this last period, or did you want to jump into looking forward to this week?
We can jump into it next week, but what I was going to say is, if I was reading that table, there's some things what would worry me if I was a fan of some teams. We know that Southampton are going down. They're probably going to go down with the worst point rate. I actually think they could beat Derby's 11 points. I think they could get less than 11 points. They are that bad. They're shocking. Although we only won
How many
1-0.
how many games were in that 11-point season? Out of
38,
curiosity, do you remember?
38, 38 games. So, although we beat Ipswich 1-0, and although they then went and beat Chelsea 2-0, Ipswich are probably the worst team that I've seen at the Emirates this season. And we only beat them 1-0. But they're the worst team I've seen us play. They were dire. I mean, dire. So if you're Southampton and you've only got 6 points, you might as well pack up now. It's over. The season's over for them. The teams who are now, if I was reading this table, the teams what I'd be worried about if I was a fan of Leicester. Ruud van Nistelrooy comes in, wins a game, wins 2 games. All of a sudden, you've lost 4 on the spin. Not only have you lost 4 on the spin, you're conceding goals left, right, and centre, and you're not scoring. They should have got a draw, or maybe could have even beat Man City, but they should have got a draw. If you went on XG, they actually won the XG game. So they had the chances. Vardy had an unbelievable chance. They had the chances, didn't take them. All of a sudden, you've lost the game. So Leicester, I'd be worried. The other 2 teams who I'd be 3 teams who I'd be really worried about. Man United. Apart from Southampton and Leicester, Man U have got the worst current form in 5 games. 3 points. And they are treading water. And it's not going to get easier. They've got Liverpool this week. Then they go to Arsenal. And then they've got Spurs, I think. I'm sure it's Spurs away after that, or something like that. The players are just running around. I know that Amarim's tried putting his system in but the players just running around, just don't look like they know what they're doing. And the other two teams who would give me a big worry, Spurs look completely shot, and now they've found out that three of their four centre backs are injured until at least February, which means that they're going to come to the Emirates and play Arsenal with a definite makeshift back four. And their fullback's injured as well. So Davis is out, Romero is out, Van der Ven's out, and Udogi's out. So they're struggling. And the other one's Brighton. And Arsenal play Brighton this weekend. Brighton have not won in 7. They've not got a win in 7 games, including drawing the last 3. Brighton are treading water. Started the season off like a train. All of a sudden, struggling to score. Really, really struggling to score. And if you look at goals what they've scored, I think we've got something like 26 goals after about 10 or 11 games. They've scored 3 since. So, yeah, if we jump into this week's games, I think it kind of feeds into what we expect to see this week, to be fair. Because I think Newcastle are going to go to Spurs and absolutely hammer them. I think Spurs are going to get on, and I don't want it to be yet. I'd rather it happen after the Emirates, but I think Andrew's going to go. I cannot see Spurs hanging around. Not if they are completely out of the European picture. That massively, massively affects their finances. And I think if they lose a couple more, especially Saturday, and then if the same happened when they play Arsenal in just over 2 weeks time.
Yeah. So Spurs, since we're on the topic, Spurs obviously play Newcastle this weekend. They play Liverpool at home in the Cup, the EFL Cup. Then they play Tamworth in the FA Cup, and then they play Arsenal on the 15th.
Yeah.
Before heading up to Goodison Park for a last hurrah against Everton.
I worry for them. I think Ange could be done. I also worry about what Leicester are doing. I said at the time I think Leicester were a bit silly backing Steve Cooper.
Do you think that Levy, assuming there's some level of payout that needs to happen in order to sack Ange, do you think that Levy's going to stomach that?
Yeah, I do.
I think it's more of a matter of European qualification and lack thereof.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the new manager going to do with the pieces that they have with everybody out injured?
They've got some good pieces. It's just that the tactics are crap.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the case from the beginning, right?
You've got to be pragmatic. You've got to be pragmatic. Unfortunately, sometimes you've got to change your tactical approach. You see the best managers in the world change their tactical approach in games. Pep does it. Arteta does it. Ancelotti does it. Simone Inzaghi does it. They all do it. Klopp did it. They all change their approach to games. Why is Ange any different? So that's a big one. Like I said previously, Leicester sacked Steve Cooper. When they were actually doing all right, they're going to go away to Villa. They're going to get thumped at Villa. Even though Villa are in full Unai mode at the moment, where they are capitulating crazily. I mean, you don't know. They're like a box of rebels, aren't they? Villa at the moment. You don't know if you're going to get 5 goals out of them, 4 or 5 goals against. They're just gone bonkers. And then out of the other games, like I said, there's some big games for some teams who are teetering on the brink of either doing something good or doing something bad. Bournemouth at Everton. If Bournemouth win, Bournemouth are legit. Everton have been good recently, but then they had a dip over in the last game. But Everton have been decent, so if Bournemouth get a win, wow. Palace against Chelsea. I think Chelsea are going to struggle at Palace. I think Palace are on it. I know we battered them. I know we stuck 8 past them into.
It wasn't. We beat them by a high score, but it wasn't a battering. It was
no. Because if you look on
very
XG,
competitive match.
If you look on XG, I think it was about 3-2 on XG, but we won 5-1 in reality.
Right.
Chelsea are missing a few pieces as well, and I think Palace have got a bit between the teeth. I think City are going to get
I
back.
think they're on the upswing.
City are back on the horse now, so West Ham are under the cosh. I think Brentford are under the cosh. I know we lost to Arsenal on Wednesday, but they're now on a bit of a slide, Brentford, and they've got all their defences still out. They've got this makeshift centre back pair, and it's not me and Pinnock, it's Collins and Janelt.
Yeah, but the reality is that Southampton's ability to score goals is not
correct.
great.
Now Brentford are under the cosh. What you want to do as Brentford is go there. You know that Southampton are right for pickings, and you want to go there and get yourself back on track. Now, if Brentford win, it means that Tottenham have got to win against Newcastle, because if Brentford win, if you go back to the table, you'll see where we're going here, Matt.
I'm on it.
Brentford and Tottenham are on the same points. Brentford win, all of a sudden, Spurs are 3 points behind 11th, because Spurs will be down to 12th. Yeah. Look how far it is to get to Europe at that point. If Bournemouth win, City win, Fulham win, and Villa win, 32 points will be 9th place.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're looking at Newcastle beating Spurs head to head, right? Then 5th is at 35 points, and you're on.
But
24.
You're not going to get 5th. But even if you want to try and get Conference League, 32 points would be 9th place, and all of a sudden you're 8 points adrift. After 20 games, you're 8 points adrift, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better.
Yeah.
So for Brentford have got to do a job on Southampton, because all of a sudden psychological advantage, they've got it. You know that West Ham are going to falter if you're Brentford. I definitely don't see Man City not beating them. And then you go into the Sunday game, and you look at Man United versus Liverpool, and this is either going to go two ways. I said this before, and I was proved right. I said last year, Man United draw or win at Anfield. They went and drew 0-0 after it got Kosh 7-0, didn't they, year before?
They had gotten, and the results leading up to that game were poor.
Yeah, and that 0-0, I think Liverpool had something like 35 shots or something like that. Well, as bad as what Man U have been, I actually think they might go to Liverpool and get something. I actually think they might go and get something. I think a draw. I think they'll get a draw. I genuinely think Man U will get a draw, because for some weird reason, I think that the way that they set up and how they play the game will be like kryptonite to Liverpool, because Man U are scatty, and Liverpool under Slot are more drilled than what they were under Klopp. They're a bit more Arsenal. They're a bit more very positional, although they're a bit quicker in transition. I just think Man U's new system is going to throw a curveball, and I think they'll get a draw.
Yeah, so looking back at the last time they played at Anfield, this was December of 2023, last season. It was Liverpool 0, Man United 0. Liverpool had 68% possession, 2.38 xG. Man United had 0.75 xG. They both had one big chance. This was the peak Ten Hag ball. 34 shots for Liverpool to 6 shots for Man United.
And the funny thing is, Man U could get a draw against Liverpool and not go anywhere in the table, because if Palace beat Chelsea, like I think they will, Palace will leapfrog both Man U and West Ham, which will push Man U down to 15th, West Ham to 14th, and if Man U get a point, they just go back into 14th. So they get a point at Liverpool and not move anywhere in the league, which then you
have to head up to the Emirates in a week's time.
Yeah. So that's where. So like for this week's games, that's. I think there was a few more. I think Wolves Forest. I think is going to be a tough game for Forest, and it'll be a tough game on Wolves. But I think that's got goals in it. I know Forest are good defensively, and have been very good defensively. but Wolves score goals and Wolves concede goals. That could end up being the over 4 goals game, definitely. And Fulham will beat Ipswich. So
Yeah, Forest have been really good defensively. I guess the question is, can they keep up? Do they have enough goals in their team to, to continue the push into Europe?
I think they don't score enough. And the moment that Murillo or Milenkovic has a bit of a wobble, I think they'll struggle.
Yeah,
Well, like most teams, to be fair, if your centre back pairing is so dominant and then all of a sudden they have a wobble, you're all gonna struggle. But I
they
just think
are
they don't.
they are
I don't think they score enough goals.
13th in goals for. They are third. They're
Mm,
on 19. Arsenal and Liverpool are both on 17 for goals
mm,
conceded. So they've been really tight at the back. They don't have as many goals as their
no,
league position might tell you that they should. So let's dig into Tottenham Newcastle. Do Spurs have a shot?
no, no, no. They genuinely, you're going to have what? What's it going to be? Pedro Porro, Archie Gray, Radu Dragusin, and
Jed
who else?
Spence.
Jed Spence.
Spence.
No, he got sent off, didn't he? Didn't he get sent off? Didn't he
Maybe
get
he
2
did
yellows?
against Wolves.
I'm sure he got 2 yellows or something like that, didn't he? I might be wrong. But anyway,
I think he's one of the few that's not
right, okay.
injured or suspended.
But they're up against Gordon, Isaac, Barnes, Joelinton, whoever Newcastle decide to put out wide. No chance. Murphy's been on fire. No chance.
Yeah.
Absolutely no chance. Midfield's going to get overrun. Sandro Tonali is. I mean, I've always written Tonali was fantastic at Milan. Great on Bet365 for his hackers. But yeah, he this season is become great. He's proven what Newcastle bought, and him and Bruno is such a good pairing. And they'll just overrun Spurs. Spurs ain't got nothing. The problem with Spurs is, although I think they'll score, Newcastle will score more. It'd be a
Yeah, one
free
of
one.
those both teams to score, Newcastle win
Yeah,
type of betting days, right?
yeah.
That somebody had put over for the Spurs Liverpool game. They had bet. I think it was over 8.5 goals. They had bet, and it hit. That
Yeah,
must have been a nice day for that person.
yeah.
High scoring types of matches, especially whenever Ange Postecoglou's Spurs are involved.
hmm
Um, so genuinely, you in terms of the Liverpool Man U game, because I mean the big games of the week, I think what you'd say are the Tottenham Newcastle game. The Liverpool Man United is obviously the premier match of the weekend. I think anytime Arsenal go down to the Amex is usually ends up being a pretty good match. So let's touch on that one before we get out of here and go watch the darts. What do Brighton have for Arsenal? And Arsenal, what do Arsenal have for Brighton without Bukayo Saka?
I've said before, Brighton have been struggling lately, and I don't know why, because they've got some great attacking players, but they've been
They
struggling.
have 4 draws and 1 loss in their last 5.
Yeah, I think it's no, they haven't won in 7. I think it's 5 draws and 2 losses in the last 7.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Their last win was in November against Bournemouth.
Arsenal are going to go there. No Timber, which is a big miss, but they either put Partey at right back or they move Calafiori to right back and play Miles Lewis Skelly left back, which I think might happen. I think that might happen, and I think they'll go Partey, Rice, Odegaard in midfield.
I think I disagree because if Arteta's shown anything, it's always been he's got his depth chart and it's next man up. So if Party's fit, he's playing right back, and it honestly I think it'll feed into what they've been trying to do in the midfield, which is
I,
have Rice at the base and then start.
no, I,
I think the biggest question is, do you start Marino or do you start Havertz as the left eight? I think that's the bigger
I,
question, to be honest.
I don't think. I don't think. I don't think Havertz starts. I think he's on the bench. But for me,
So you think they're going to start Wineri again?
I think they'll start one area again. And the only reason why I don't think they'll play Partey at right back and play Calafiori instead is because they're going to either play Matoma or Adingra wide. And I can't see Partey being able to handle either of them, whereas I can see Calafiori being able to do it. So this is why
But
I
I mean,
think.
to be fair, when we played Liverpool at home, and obviously home
Mm,
versus away and all that, but Liverpool had started Diaz, and I thought that
yeah,
was one of Partey's best games.
yeah, true. He could do, and he could
I
do it.
guess
And
let me reverse it. What's the from your perspective? How do you beat Brighton? Let's put it that way. How do you beat Brighton if you're
don't
coming to that
concede a
place?
goal. Don't concede a goal. Arsenal have not kept a clean sheet away from home since they went to the since they went to Etihad. So we conceded two at
When
Man City. When we conceded two at Man City, we've not kept a clean sheet away from home in the Premier League since then.
uh, since before that, because that
Yeah,
was
Spurs.
out of
Spurs was
season.
the last time we kept an away. So we went to the Etihad, conceded two. They said stay humble. Since they said stay humble, they'd fell off. But we've also not kept a clean sheet away. So up to that point, up to us going to the Etihad, we'd I think we'd kept something stupid like 9 clean sheets in a row
It had been
away
on a
from
run
home,
for sure.
and then went there. We've not kept one since. So so yeah. So first thing, if Arsenal don't want to win the game, keep clean sheet because Arsenal will score. Arsenal will score. Just keep clean sheet and you'll win the game. That's all I said. And Arsenal last year went to Brighton and everyone thought this is going to be a tough game. Went there, what did we do? They won 3-0, get the clean sheet. And Brighton never looked like scoring. Never looked like scoring. And in order for them to do that, Erdegaard's got to have, in order for Arsenal to win, Erdegaard's got to, he's got to find something. He's been sluggish First half of games he's been sluggish, and then
Just got to
and then
get rid of
he's
that
come
baby.
he's come to life in the second half. First half he's been sluggish. He's got to be brighter in the first half. If he's brighter in the first half, then they'll walk it. Uh,
I mean,
so
I
yeah,
think it's been interesting. Like his touch has been off. I think
mm,
obviously having a new baby and some level of sleep interruption that's going on there,
yeah,
um, is it's a challenge for anybody. And I remember when I had my son, I was walking around like a zombie, and I'm not a high performance athlete, right? I
yeah.
was literally on the phone with a customer, and Nigel, I was in the middle of a sentence and I forgot what I was talking about, and I was like, I'm terribly sorry. I don't know what we were talking about, and he was like,
Yeah.
"No worries." The guy said, I was in the military and we had like all of this sleep deprivation training and stuff like that. He's like, I've never been more tired than when I had a child.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of the situation.
That's what it is, man.
So there's there's not much we can do about the baby, so we got to figure out whether that's sleeping in another room or having a nanny or something to get Mr. Odegaard some more sleep, because he's looking like Trossard right now with the sleeplessness. And he's still showing up, but some of the touch on those passes where he kind of clips it over the left back, and it's like going out every time, you
Yeah.
know um the I don't know if you saw the last couple Brighton games. I watched almost all of the Brighton game against Brentford. Um, Brentford looked threatening, but Brighton had a million chances. What was it? And Ciso couldn't hit
Mm.
water if he fell out of a boat. That guy's been on. I think he hasn't scored in like 2 years or something like that. Obviously, he's been out with injury for a long time, but he has not found his shooting boots. So they definitely create chances. I think in that one they had 1.31 xG to Brentford's one. The Villa game, which they drew 2-2, which that was a game that got stretched out. Honestly, I thought that Aston Villa was the better team, and The Lamptey pulled out a rabbit out of his hat near the end of that one, on a really nice goal, to salvage the draw. But that's also like a big Unai game, right? Where you're leading and then you let the game get super stretched out and you're playing basketball. And if you're if you can't put away that, like, I think Aston Villa had like 2 or 3 crazy chances at the end of that game. One was from Watkins. I think McGinn had one. They had a few different chances where, like, oh my gosh, how did you guys miss? And you, like you said, don't concede against Brighton and don't let it turn into a basketball game, right? Because they do have the players when they're going forward, with was it Pedro?
Ingram, Pedro, and Mitoma. That's
And
brilliant.
Ruter, friend of the show, Jorginho Ruter, who Ben will tell us all about next time he's on. Very talented, very skilled players. Baliba in midfield, who was really good against Arsenal last time, and who's been playing really well. I mean, this guy's all over the place like an octopus. So, you know, it's going to be a fun one. We got some good matchups this weekend. This one is the fixture schedule has really blessed us for this weekend, so it's going to be a fun weekend of matches. Thanks for jumping on, Nigel. I hope whoever you want to win the darts wins. Give
Luke
us your match, your give us your moment of the festive period in the comments, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.